Alia stood in the dark storage room, her small hands shaking as she tried to feel the walls around her. The air was heavy, dusty, and hard to breathe. There was no window, no light, only a weak smell of old wood and rust. She called out for help, but her voice did not go far. The room swallowed every sound. Just a few hours ago, her life was normal. She was sitting in the living room, watching her father smile with a new woman and a small child. She thought it was just a visit. She thought everything would be fine. But then her father stood up, looked at her coldly, and said words she could never forget. "This is my new family now. You don't belong here anymore." Before she could even ask why, he grabbed her arm and dragged her down the hallway. She begged him to stop. She cried, but he didn't listen. He opened the storage room door, pushed her inside, and locked it from outside. The sound of the lock still echoed in her mind. Now, sitting on the cold floor, Alia hugged her knees tightly. Her heart was racing. She kept asking herself why her own father changed so suddenly. He used to laugh with her, bring her small gifts, and call her his princess. But now, she felt like she meant nothing to him. Hours passed, maybe days. She could not tell anymore. Her stomach hurt from hunger. Her throat was dry. Fear slowly turned into hopeless silence. Then, suddenly, she noticed something strange behind an old wooden box, a small white envelope, and on it, written in soft handwriting, "For Alia, from Mother. Open only when everything is lost." Alia stared at the envelope for a long time without moving. Her hands were still shaking, but now it was not only fear, it was confusion. Her mother had been gone for years. She had died when Alia was still a little girl. So how could this letter be here? And why was it hidden in this cold storage room? Outside the door, the house was silent. No voices, no footsteps, only the faint sound of a distant television from her father's new family. That sound reminded her that life outside was moving on without her. Inside the room, Alia slowly crawled closer to the envelope. Her fingers touched it lightly, like she was afraid it might disappear. She remembered her mother's face from old memories. A soft smile, warm hands, a voice that always made her feel safe. Her eyes filled with tears again. She whispered, "Mom, are you really still with me?" But there was no answer. Alia placed the envelope in her lap, but did not open it yet. Something inside her felt heavy, like the truth inside this letter would change everything she believed. She looked at the locked door again. It was still shut tight. No one was coming. Hours passed. Hunger grew worse. Her body felt weak, but her mind was no longer thinking about food. She was thinking about her father. Why did he do this? Why did he choose a new family and throw her away like she meant nothing? Memories kept coming back. Birthdays he missed. Days he ignored her. And now, this final moment where he locked her away like she didn't exist. Alia finally understood something painful. She was not just locked in a room. She was being erased from her father's life. The storage room felt colder than before. Alia's fingers slowly moved over the envelope again. Her heart was beating fast, like it was warning her not to open it. But there was no choice anymore. She was alone, locked away, and the truth was the only thing left with her. With trembling hands, she finally broke the seal. Inside was a folded paper and a small key attached with thread. Alia paused. A key? Her mind filled with questions. Why would her mother leave a key here? And what was it for? Then she started reading. The first line made her freeze. "My dear Alia, if you are reading this, then your father has already shown his real face." Her breath stopped for a moment. She continued slowly, tears building in her eyes. The letter spoke about things she never knew. Her mother explained that her father had changed long before her death. He had started hiding money, secret deals, and another life she never saw. Her mother had tried to leave him, but he threatened her. He used power and fear to keep everything hidden. Alia's hand began to shake harder as she read further. The letter also revealed something worse. Her father had planned to remove Alia completely after her mother was gone. Not just emotionally, but from everything. From property, from memory, from his life. Alia dropped the letter for a moment, unable to breathe. The storage room suddenly felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. Everything she believed about her father was breaking inside her mind. But then she looked at the small key again, and the last line of the letter gave her a direction. Behind the storage room wall, the truth is waiting. Alia sat still on the cold floor, holding the small key tightly in her hand. Her mind was spinning. Her mother's words echoed again and again. Behind the storage room wall, the truth is waiting. She slowly looked around the dark room. The walls were old, covered in dust and spider webs. At first, everything looked normal. Just broken shelves, empty boxes, and forgotten things. But then she noticed something strange. One section of the wall looked slightly different. The wood was newer, cleaner, like it had been replaced recently. Her heart started beating faster. With weak strength, she pushed the old boxes aside. Her hands were shaking so much she could barely hold herself steady. She moved closer and pressed her fingers against the wall. It sounded hollow. Alia swallowed hard. "Mom, what did you hide here?" she whispered. She slowly inserted the small key into a hidden lock she just discovered under a loose plank. Her breath stopped for a second. Click. The sound was soft, but it felt like a bomb inside her heart. A small panel opened. Inside was a hidden space, and what she saw made her step back in shock. There were documents, bank papers, old photos, and files with her father's signature on them. But these were not normal papers. These showed secret accounts, hidden money transfers, and legal records of lies. Alia's hands dropped for a moment. Her father, the man she called Dad, had been living a double life. Everything her mother wrote was true, and worse. There was a final document dated just days before she was locked in the storage room. It had one line written clearly: "Remove Alia from all rights immediately." Tears filled her eyes. Now she understood. She was not locked away by accident. She was locked away on purpose. Alia sat in silence for a long time after reading the documents. Her hands were still shaking, but something inside her had changed. The fear was still there, but now it was mixed with something stronger. Anger. Not loud anger. Not screaming. But a deep, cold feeling of truth. Her father had not only betrayed her mother, he had planned to erase Alia completely. And now she was sitting in the very place where he thought she would disappear forever. Alia slowly looked at the hidden documents again. She began to understand their value. These were not just papers. They were proof. Proof of lies, money fraud, and hidden accounts. Proof that could destroy everything her father had built. But she was still locked inside. She looked at the door. Heavy, silent, unmoving. Then her eyes moved to the small ventilation opening near the ceiling. It was too small for an adult, but maybe not impossible for someone thin like her. For the first time, she started thinking differently. Not like a victim, but like someone planning escape. She carefully folded the documents and hid them inside her clothes. Then she checked the wall again, making sure no one outside could see the secret space. Hours passed slowly. She listened carefully. Footsteps came and went outside the storage room. Sometimes her father's voice echoed in the house, laughing with his new family. That sound now felt different. Fake. Late at night, the house became quiet. Alia pushed a small broken shelf under the door handle, trying to block it from being opened quickly. Then she moved toward the wall, opening again. Her hands trembled, but not from fear this time, from decision. She whispered softly, "I am not staying here." And for the first time since she was locked inside, Alia started planning her escape. Night was completely silent. The house outside the storage room was calm, but inside Alia's heart, everything felt awake. She had waited for the right moment. Every sound, every step outside had guided her. Now it was time. Alia carefully moved the broken shelf away from the door. Her hands were steady this time. Fear was still there, but it no longer controlled her. She took a deep breath and looked at the small ventilation opening near the wall. With effort, she climbed using stacked boxes. Her arms were weak, but her determination was stronger. Slowly, she pushed herself up and squeezed through the narrow opening. Dust scratched her skin, but she did not stop. After a few painful seconds, she made it out. She landed quietly outside the storage room in a dark corridor. Her heart was beating fast, but she stayed low and silent. The house was still. Her father and his new family were asleep. Alia moved carefully, step by step, holding the hidden documents close to her chest. She knew she could not stay here even one more minute. She reached her room quietly. Everything was still the same, but it felt like a stranger's place now. She packed only what she needed: the documents, the letter, and her mother's key. Before leaving, she looked back one last time. No tears, only silence. Then she walked out of the house.